Hi, my name is David Bergenson, and for the November 2nd, 2021 edition of the World Weather Watcher, we're going to be looking at the events of Glasgow COP26 to see how governments and industry are making commitments towards a net zero carbon society, and also the role that weather data is going to play in helping us understand weather pattern shifts associated with climate change and how society can respond. This week, a lot of activity in Glasgow as COP26 meets around national determined commitments around reducing carbon emissions, not just carbon dioxide, but today also discussing methane reductions, where approximately 100 countries have committed to reducing methane reductions, which is great news, representing about 60% of the global GDP. And what we're finding, though, is countries and companies are recognizing that new normal, and therefore we need to draw on weather analytics to help us understand the shifts that we're seeing in weather patterns in order to inform investments in infrastructure as well as policies that mitigate the risk associated with climate change. And to this end, leaders in Africa are coming together to look at how Africa accelerates its adaptation strategy in light of climate change. And the good news is that AWARE has approximately 370,000 virtual weather stations across Africa dating back to 2001 that allow us to look at weather trends and therefore use a data-driven approach towards investing in more resilient infrastructure in order that economies can be buffered against the weather variability associated with climate change. Now, this is particularly important for the agriculture sector. Africa depends on rain-fed agriculture, and therefore the impact of climate change on food security and the livelihoods of farmers is very important. Fortunately, we're partnering with countries like Zimbabwe and Kenya to deliver digital climate advisory services to smallholder farmers. And these public-private partnerships are empowering farmers to access local weather data that then drives agronomic decisions so that they can plant their crops on time, do their farm operations that maximizes their production and profitability, and also reduces their risk of crop failure. All of these are very important interventions to help ensure not just food security, but to empower farmers to derive a predictable livelihood from agriculture, which is so important. So in light of this, when we look at the last 30 days, we're going to be looking at Africa in particular to the rainfall patterns and temperature patterns we see that will impact on agriculture. So we see that for the Horn of Africa, concern is emerging around the delayed rains. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks, and it is getting better in the forecast, but it's dramatically delayed. This continues to be a concern for the central part of Kenya, all the way up through into Somalia. And we also see dry conditions in countries like Myanmar. So these are areas that we want to be tracking to make sure we get ahead of any food insecurity issues. In the forecast, we see continuing dry conditions for the coastal area of Eastern Africa, especially Kenya, but also potential concerns for Tanzania as well, starting to emerge here. We see dry conditions in the forecast for Central America, so this has been an area that we've been tracking, and potential food insecurity issues as we see a lot of outmigration in Central America to Mexico and even the United States. So a lot of climate change refugees, if you will, as a result of these dry conditions in Central America. When we look to maximum temperature the last 30 days, we see this very large area of Canada well above normal temperatures. Same is true for the central part of the United States, as well as for Argentina. And we see slightly warmer than normal conditions for the central part of Africa through the Middle East, as well as all of Russia, warmer than normal conditions. Looking to the next 15 days, we see much warmer than normal conditions along the eastern part of Africa, especially Mozambique. We see continued warmer than normal conditions for Russia, all the way through into the Ukraine, while we see cooler than normal conditions for much of China and India. Looking to the forecast for precipitation the next 15 days, we see good rains in the northern part of South America. We see the movement of the intertropical conversion zone in Central Africa as it moves down into Angola. And for India, we see in the southern part of India rainfall in the forecast to support agriculture, as is the case for much of Southeast Asia. Looking to the ratio of precipitation over potential evapotranspiration as an index to gauge water stress in rain-fed agriculture areas. Areas in green are suitable for rain-fed agriculture based on rainfall and temperature, so that's the case for the northern part of South America, central part of Africa, especially Democratic Republic of Congo, the southern tip of India, and across Southeast Asia, all showing good conditions for rain-fed agriculture. Looking to the forecast, next 15 days, we see the area of rain-fed agriculture expanding across much of Brazil as weather conditions improve there. And we also see the movement southward from DRC into Angola as the intertropical conversion zone moves southward and the rainy season is in full swing there. We see slightly better conditions for the central part of Kenya in the forecast as it relates to improved availability of precipitation. AWARE has taken the agroecological zones of FAO and consolidated them into 4 agroecological zone classifications based on rainfall and temperature. These include arid, marginable, suitable, and humid production zones. Now we can take these long-term conditions and compare them to current weather conditions to identify areas at potential risk of either yield loss or even food insecurity. And so we're able to do this at a global scale every day to track the issue of food insecurity. So the last 30 days, we see that we've been talking a little bit about the southern tip of Brazil as being dry and an area of concern. Central America also an area of concern given the weather conditions there as it relates to agriculture and food security. We see food security concerns here in Myanmar, and we see growing concerns of food security in Madagascar as well as the Horn of Africa. When we look to the next 15 days, we see continued concern for the southern tip of Somalia and the eastern coast of Kenya, as well as for the northwestern corner of Tanzania, area of concern here, and also the central part of Madagascar also is a concern. So in these maps here, what we're doing is bringing the observed rainfall from the last 7 days and bringing it together with the rainfall in the forecast for the next 7 days. Now, the 7-day forecast is more accurate than the 15-day forecast, so this gives us a little more confidence around the actual conditions, for example, farmers would be facing as they establish their crops in the southern part of Africa. And we can see here that conditions the last week have brought rains into Angola and into Zimbabwe, for example, central Zimbabwe and Botswana. In the forecast, it's going to be a little bit drier, but there's still some precipitation in the forecast to support rain-fed agriculture in Zimbabwe, for example. While we see for the Democratic Republic of Congo and Angola, good rains in the forecast, triggering the start of the rainy season there. Still see challenges, though, for the central part of Kenya and the southern tip of Somalia. So we'll be tracking those, especially as it relates to food insecurity. So we're able to now use that information to generate our dynamic agroecological index to track food insecurity. And we see, as I just mentioned, the concern for the southern tip of Somalia and the coastal area of Kenya. Central area of Kenya also a concern when it comes to food security. And also the northern coast of Tanzania and the northwestern corner of Tanzania also emerging as areas we want to track for food security given the current weather conditions. So when we zoom in further using this dynamic agroecological index, it gives us a better picture of areas of Kenya in red here that are at risk or we put on alert for food security. We see that the border with Somalia, also an area that is a real concern related to food insecurity. And this extends all the way down into the coastal areas of Tanzania, as well as the northwestern region of Tanzania as an area to watch for food insecurity. Now, this information helps governments and development organizations get ahead of humanitarian crises as it relates to food security. And this not only reduces human suffering, but makes those operations much more effective in delivering those services in a timely and cost-effective manner. If analytics like this are of interest to you, we invite you to go to our Adapter platform at apps.aware.com, where you can start your weather analytics journey for free. Until next week, take care.